The members of the Gracie family are among the most influential figures in the world of combat sports, responsible for the creation of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and pioneering a modern form of freestyle combat widely known as mixed martial arts. However, it's been over 2 decades since we've last seen a member of the Gracie clan dominating the competition in MMA, and it seems like the second generation failed to live up to the high expectations. Still, one name that might bring the family name back to the spotlight is Kron Gracie, an exceptional grappling talent who decided to go against the traditional BJJ doctrine and family influence to approach the world of freestyle combat in his own unique way. Though this certainly cost him a better result in his last UFC fight against Cub Swanson, Kron didn't show a fraction of what he's capable of, and by many, he is about to unleash his full potential in his comeback. Born in 1988 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Kron Gracie is the youngest son of legendary grappler and freestyle fighter Rickson Gracie, and the grandson of Helio Gracie. Though he was born in Brazil, he lived most of his life in Los Angeles, California, because his family moved to the US in the early 90s with the mission to spread the art of BJJ. Heavily influenced by his father, Kron made his first footsteps on the grappling mats, and while the majority of kids his age played in the park with toys, he grew up playing with takedowns, positioning, and learning how to place submissions. He could be seen playing jiu-jitsu with his father in the popular Rickson Gracie documentary called Choke, filmed in 1995. By the time Kron was 10 years old, he already won the American International Championship in the yellow belt division and was progressing at a high rate. But at this crucial stage of maturing, tragedy would strike the family when Kron's older brother Roxon suddenly passed away, which caused great sadness within the household. This also put the 12-year-old Kron in the center of the media attention, as he was now the only Rickson son left to defend the family name in the combat sports world. And he did it in a spectacular way. While competing in the lower belt divisions, Kron literally demolished the competition, especially from the blue belt onward, when he managed to win the World Championships, also known as Mundial, Pan American 4 times, and many other important tournaments. He was so skilled and dominant that many people from the grappling community thought he should have already moved to a black belt division, as he was clearly in a class of his own among the lower belts. Just the fact that he managed to establish 51 straight submissions winning streak perfectly illustrates how dominant he was. Sure enough, his father Rickson promoted Kron to a black belt rank in 2008 ahead of the World Championship tournament, which proved to be a bad decision as Kron went on to lose his first fight. However, Kron would take the loss as a lesson and a way to grow as a martial artist, and bounce back by winning the European title in 2009, just 2 days after the death of his grandfather Helio. Over the course of the next 5 years, Kron would establish himself as a top grappler in the black belt division, and after a few setbacks, win the prestigious ADCC World Championship in 2013. In February 2014, Kron announced he's planning to switch over to MMA, and he instantly received a huge media spotlight as the MMA world was happy to see another Gracie representative following in his family's footsteps. To ensure he would be prepared to make a successful transition, Kron began training with the California-based Scrap Pack, which was composed of the most talented Cesar Gracie jiu-jitsu fighters such as Nate and Nick Diaz, Gilbert Melendez, Jake Shields, and kickboxer Joe Schilling. He got a chance to regularly train under the close eye of boxing coach Richard Perez, spar with some of the best strikers in MMA and kickboxing, and it didn't take long for him to develop all-around skills. Kron kicked off his MMA career with a submission win at RFC 1 event before signing for the premium Asian promotion Risen World GP, where he improved his record to 4-0 with 3 submission finishes. Considering his family name, popularity, and presented skills, the UFC decided it's time to add another Gracie to the roster. Kron made his debut in 2019 at UFC on ESP1 against the Octagon veteran Alec Caceres, who at the time already had 19 UFC fights, which didn't present much of a problem as Kron just needed over 2 minutes to navigate his way to the ground and force Caceres to tap to a rear naked choke. The hype train began rolling at a high speed with the entire MMA world praising his skills and already seeing him dominating the competition as his father used to do. The expectations were so high that UFC decided to fast-track Kron by matching him against Cub Swanson and giving him a co-main event spot in his second fight, prematurely according to many. Kron got absolutely demolished by Swanson, who went on to lead the dance on the feet and beat up the Gracie prodigy with perfectly timed and placed body-head combinations. For whatever reason, Kron just couldn't or didn't want to get his grappling going, as he attempted only 2 takedowns, both easily stopped by Swanson. As a result, Kron received huge backlash from the grappling community and his family for not relying on his grappling, but choosing to stand and bang with one of the most talented strikers in the division. It looked like he wanted to prove to somebody that he's a well-rounded fighter, which was a massive mistake. In the 3rd round, when it became obvious he needs a late finish to pull this off, Kron didn't bother chasing any takedowns. He kept marching forward and eating shot after shot from Swanson. Just as the MMA world thought this is the last that we saw from him, Kron came out with a statement that he's coming off a 3.5-year layoff to fight in the UFC once again. Many fans took this as a positive surprise because it's obvious Kron didn't give himself enough time to unleash his full potential, as it all came too soon for him. The pressure of representing the Gracies and being the co-main event against a top 10 opponent in your second fight is simply too hard to handle for everyone. This time, Kron is facing Charles Jourdain, a vicious finisher with 10 UFC fights on his record. Although more experienced, Jourdain is coming off 2 losses and is stylistically a good matchup for Kron. The question is, will the ring rust have an effect on Kron? And will he, after that striking adventure against Swanson, come back to banking on his strengths to grapple his way to a victory? Whatever the possible outcome might be, fans are more than happy to see Kron having another run in the UFC.